There's a question, which framework should you use when you're starting off? I think you shouldn't pick any framework when you're starting off. So, as an example, if you're working with JavaScript, I don't think you should start with React, for example, right? Um, it's just like with anything, to be fair. You have to start at the very bottom. You cannot start at the top. Because once you start at the top, coming backwards or coming down is going to be really difficult. So there is people who will start learning a framework and then um, they'll use uh, framework specific things to do even basic things like sorting an array, searching an array, concatenating strings, even simple things like that. They'll use a framework for that. They have no clue that the native language that the framework is built on provides these things already, right? So these people I'm going to be working on with juniors, sometimes they're going to use certain function or functionality because they they start was from the framework. So you don't want to do that. Okay, you really don't want to start with the framework that's so abstract and it doesn't give you a chance to understand things, you know. If you already understand things, yes, start with the framework if you already have some experience with the language. But once you start a framework and you start working with the framework, everything's going to be so abstract, so vague, you know. You will not have a chance. You won't have opportunity to go into the details because of how the framework is built. Okay, that's point number one. The point number two is the hype. You know, frameworks have so much hype. Um you can't really get what you what how should I put this? You know, a lot of the times we go shopping and we buy things that we don't need, you know, just because everyone else is buying those things and all that. That's it's the same concept with the frameworks, you know. It's okay to use the framework that everyone else is using, but there is a lot of hype, so you got to be careful with that as well. um so to add to that, I think if you have some experience with the language itself, and you want to start a framework, then pick a popular framework. Okay, so in Python it might be Django, right? But you have to have some experience with Python, you know, or you should have experience with something else, for example PHP, and you're transitioning to Python. In that case, you might be fine. But when people ask which framework to use, I always tell them go learn the language first. You know, get a year or 2 years of experience with the language, then pick the framework, because then you have solid foundation and you have gone through so many things. You understand how things work. So when you start the framework, which kind of takes the thinking away, you know, you will not miss on anything. That's what I say to people. Um, get good with the language first, and then pick any popular language that's been around for a couple of years. That didn't just come out last month or 2 months ago. That's something that's been around for some time. So I'll say just look at the job market and you'll find out.